Hello friends. Welcome back to another episode of The Rooted RX. I am so excited to dive into an herbal folklore classic. In this episode, we're going to unravel the history and explore the plants and possible causes behind the famous and mysterious green children of Woolpit. If you're new here, hi. This series blends science, history, and herbalism to bring you the most engaging plant-powered content around. So if you love learning about the historical uses of plants and digging deeper into the folklore and cultural influences that surround them, consider hitting subscribe because every week we release all new episodes for you to enjoy. So, let's begin. The medieval record regarding the green children of Woolpit is scant and curiously detailed all at once. The story goes that in the year 1190 or 1191, two children emerged from a pit near the English village of Woolpit, located in what is now Suffolk County. This is where we get the name, the Green Children of Woolpit, though I've heard the children referred to as the Elf Children, or even the Bean Children, the former referencing their pale green coloring, and the latter referencing their seemingly restricted diet, consisting of baked beans. The children, who were brother and sister, presented a strange spectacle. Their skin was greener than that of any Englishman, and they wore clothes of a style foreign to those who saw them. They neither spoke English nor understood it when spoken to, though they seemed to know the English word for bread, which they requested. But upon being offered bread, they refused to eat it, choosing instead to remain solely on beans, both in their raw and baked forms. However, after some time, the girl adjusted to local foods, including milk and fruit, and her green coloration slowly faded. She lived to adulthood, married, and died in Canterbury. The boy, however, sickened and died in Canterbury before long. These strange occurrences naturally generated curiosity, fear, and speculation amongst the locals who attempted to discern the origins of the children and the nature of their strange diet and peculiar green skin. The fact that the story survived through centuries of oral tradition and made its way into written records is testament to the shock and confusion that such an occurrence caused among medieval observers. Chroniclers of the time wrote of the event with a mixture of bewilderment and alarm, unsure of how to categorize such a curious phenomenon. The story is recorded in various historical texts, including the English historian Ralph of Coggeshall's Chronicle of England. Ralph of Coggeshall was a 12th century monk and historian whose chronicles covered significant events from the year 780 to 1226 A. His writings offer one of the most detailed contemporary accounts of the Green Children of Woolpit incident, describing the children's appearance and behavior, but providing little insight into their true identity or origins. Although there is no definitive explanation for the Green Children of Woolpit incident, several theories have been proposed over the years, drawing from history, science, and folklore. These theories attempt to shed light on the puzzling aspects of the tale, such as their unusual green skin color and their exclusive consumption of beans. One prominent theory posits that the children suffered from chlorosis, a type of iron-deficiency anemia prevalent among young children, particularly in regions where soil and water have low iron content. When iron levels are insufficient, the blood struggles to transport oxygen efficiently, resulting in symptoms like fatigue, weakness, and a peculiar greenish-yellow discoloration in the skin. This pallor occurs because deoxygenated blood reflects more light than oxygenated blood, altering the skin tone. Furthermore, certain individuals perceive the reflected light differently based on their genetic makeup. In cases of severe chlorosis, the skin discoloration can become so pronounced that it takes on a noticeable green hue. This aligns with the observation that the children's skin was greener and dimmer light, and when they were ill. In addition, the fact that the girl lost her green tinge as she integrated into society suggests that her condition was influenced by environmental factors such as the bean diet. In medieval England, peasants primarily subsisted on a monotonous diet of beans, peas, and lentils, often referred to as pulse. Pulse is a type of legume that includes beans, lentils, chickpeas, and peas. These legumes were a staple of the peasant diet, due to their ability to grow in colder climates and their capacity to fix nitrogen in the soil, making them a cost-effective and sustainable source of protein. However, these legumes contain substances known as phytohemagglutine and lectins, which can interfere with the absorption of essential nutrients, like iron, zinc, and calcium. If consumed in large quantities or without proper preparation, these substances can contribute to nutrient deficiencies and health issues, such as anemia. For instance, raw kidney beans contain a significant amount of phytohemagglutinin, which, if consumed, can lead to nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. Similarly, the lectin content in beans can impede the body's ability to absorb essential minerals. It's theorized that the green children of Woolpit's restricted diet, consisting solely of beans, might have exacerbated any pre-existing conditions, intensifying their green skin manifestation. To elaborate on this theory, the green children may have been exposed to high concentrations of these compounds due to inadequate cooking of the beans, a common issue among impoverished communities during medieval times. Additionally, their limited diet lacking in other essential nutrients could have compounded the effects of these compounds, making the situation worse. For example, if the children didn't receive sufficient amounts of iron from their diet, their bodies would have struggled to produce healthy red blood cells, potentially contributing to the greenish pallor of their skin. Interestingly, recent research has shown that eating large amounts of raw kidney beans can induce a state of anemia in rats, while the same outcome hasn't been observed in humans. The potential for similar effects remains an area of interest for medical professionals. All in all, these theories highlight the interplay between diet, genetics, and environmental factors in shaping the health and well-being of individuals, even in extraordinary circumstances. So you might be wondering why they chose to only eat beans, right? Well, it's hypothesized that the green children of Woolpit's preference for beans might stem from a number of interconnected factors, including the familiarity and comfort they associated with the food, their exposure to beans in their early lives, and the potential presence of aversions or sensory sensitivities to other foods. It's important to note that during medieval times, access to a variety of foods was influenced by socioeconomic status, geographical location, and seasonal availability. Peasants typically had limited diets compared to the nobility, relying primarily on inexpensive and locally available ingredients like bean. For the children, sticking to a familiar food during a time of upheaval and transition could have been a coping mechanism, providing a sense of stability and routine in an otherwise chaotic situation. However, it's equally plausible that their bean-only diet resulted from sensory aversions or sensitivities to other foods, a phenomenon commonly observed in individuals with autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, and other neurodivergent conditions. These conditions can make certain textures, flavors, smells, or appearances of food unappealing or even overwhelming to those who experience them. Consequently, the green children's exclusive consumption of beans might have been driven by their need to avoid aversive sensory experiences, rather than a conscious dietary choice. Finally, there's the fascinating aspect of their unknown language, which baffled medieval observers. The inability of the children to communicate in English and their use of an unfamiliar language fueled speculation about their origins. Was it a local dialect, a forgotten language, or something entirely foreign to the villagers? This linguistic barrier added to the enigma surrounding the children, making it challenging for them to integrate and understand their surroundings. There are a few theories regarding the language spoken by the green children of Woolpit, each offering a different perspective on their origins and experiences. One theory suggests that the children spoke a local dialect that had become unintelligible to the villagers over time. Language is a dynamic entity that evolves and changes over the years. It's possible that the dialect spoken by the children was a variation of English that had diverged significantly from the standard language used in the surrounding areas. This divergence could have resulted from geographical isolation, limited exposure to other dialects, or simply the passage of time. As languages naturally evolve, words and phrases can become outdated, pronunciation can shift, and new words can be introduced, leading to misunderstandings and miscommunication between those who speak different versions of the same language. In this scenario, the villagers might have perceived the children's speech as incomprehensible or even otherworldly, due to the unfamiliar sounds and vocabulary they used. Another theory proposes that the children spoke an entirely forgotten language, one that had been lost or replaced in the region. Languages are not static, and they can disappear when a community stops using them. Over time, a forgotten language could have resurfaced in an unexpected context, such as the interaction between the green children and the villagers. In this case, the children's use of an archaic or obscure language could have mystified the villagers, who would have had no frame of reference for understanding their speech. Alright, so there you have it, friends. A deep dive into the captivating tale of the Green Children of Woolpit. What did you think? Do you have any theories about what may have happened to the Green Children of Woolpit? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please drop them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your fellow lore lovers. Thanks for tuning in, and happy lore hunting.